Excuse me, hello?
Lunastra?
Yes, hello?
Oh, how you been since,
Since we went on a date and I walked out on you to go back to my monster husband?
Yeah, that.
Oh, fine.
Oh, good, yeah.
Oh, I'm in master rank now, you know.
Oh, nice, that's good, I'm happy for you.
And soon I'll be coming for your blood.
Excuse me?
I said soon I'll be arch-tempered.
Oh, okay, alright, that makes sense.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, we are in the special and lucky position of knowing what is coming ahead of us, because Capcom has lovingly bestowed upon us a roadmap.
I can see the future!
And as a result, one of the main things that we know to be returning is arch-tempered monsters to, well, mixed levels of excitement from the community, and these feelings are not at all unreasonable, considering the arch-tempered monsters of Base World were very hit and miss, to say the least, with some of them being nothing more than damage number increases with shiny skin, and other more interesting ones actually having fully fleshed out new attacks, slight mechanical changes, or a touch of scenery and new starting location as well. So based on all the information we have, all the experience that we have from the past examples, and what we know of the newest high-end monsters in the game, what can we predict about the new Arch-Tempered quests? Well, we can start with this, my predicted list of the top 5 Arch-Tempered monsters in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. And for the sake of this list, I will be going under the assumption that Capcom will continue on with the successful version of the Arch-Tempering formula and actually make genuine changes to fights that adjust the entire experience. Without further ado then, let's begin with...
Honorable mention.
I love gold!
Kulve Taroth.
This one is only down here because obviously we don't have a normal Master Rank version of Kulve Taroth yet, so it is hard to say whether an Arch-Tempered version is even remotely likely to come. So while I didn't want to put it on the main list, I do still want to talk about it, because in my opinion, Arch-Tempered Kulve Taroth was among the super well done Arch-Tempereds the first time. And in theory, if she did happen to come back as an Arch-Tempered, it would also be with a few new moves to anoint her into Master Rank as well. So I feel super confident saying that if Kulve does come to Master Rank as an Arch-Tempered, she would be on this list and would definitely be an improved fight as a whole that I would at least enjoy on a personal level.
Number 5. Velkhana.
One thing that really stuck with me about the Arch-Tempered system from the main game was the way that Capcom did Arch-Tempered Xeno'jiiva, because while they did up his damage and give him a couple new actual moves, a lot of what was actually changed was with the mechanics of his ground puddles of fire, the time they last, and which attacks caused them to exist in the first place. And I think that is an area worth really focusing on, the augmenting and changing of the mechanics the monster already has. In relation to Velkhana, I could totally see them doing something like making her ice walls one segment longer widthwise to really mess with the movement a little bit more in the fight, and the sticky ice patches that Velkhana sprays on the floor to prepare for a tail stab attack could totally be applied to more attacks.
But why?
Yeah, I know, it's an ability that affects movement, and losing range of movement sucks, so it may not be fun, but I do think that regardless of pure fun, this change could be really interesting and change the fight, and add more of a legitimate challenge to it rather than just purely raising her damage, and that, I think, will be the aim of Arch-Tempered monsters this time around if they actually listen to community feedback. Make monsters harder to give us a challenge, yes, but through ability and mechanical changes, not through sheer damage numbers, and Velkhana, in my opinion, is a prime target to receive this kind of treatment.
Number 4. Seething Basil Geese.
And this one excites me in more ways than one. First off, the elephant in the room, no, Seething Basil Geese is not yet confirmed to have an Arch-Tempered version coming. However, even though he isn't an Elder Dragon, which is what were Arch-Tempered before, he is a Tier 3 Tempered monster, which Elder Dragons are also. And I think it's super reasonable to think that Arch-Tempering will follow the Tempered level of monsters more than it just follows the technicality of whether it is an Elder Dragon or not. So I say Seething Basil Geese actually has a pretty high chance of making it into the Arch-Tempered ranks, which is sort of nice considering we see him far less in Iceborne than we saw regular Basil in Base World.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
So that out of the way, I think the main thing that would be messed with here is clearly his scales, specifically the amount and direction that they come out in during his attacks. I think they could totally just have most attacks spray out more scales in larger cones, but if they really wanted to take it a step even further, they could do something like increase the blast radius of the individual scales, or maybe even change the timer on the explosions, make them literally have a shorter fuse than normal, and to me, at least, that sounds super neat. Hard, sure, but interesting, and like it would affect the entire fight. And in my mind, if Arch Tempered Seething Basil Geese manages to be anything like that, I would be happy to put him at number 4 on my list.
Number 3. Danielle.
In the world of messing with puddles and severity of mechanics, there are few tier 3 tempered monsters that stick out more to me than Danielle. Mostly because in my mind, the main change for her is not only super simple to execute, but would affect the fight massively. Just either increase the number of water pools each attack creates, or increase the size of each individual pool of water. What makes Danielle difficult really is less her individual attacks than it is the way that she interacts with the pools on the ground. The way that she can pull you off of the spot through them, push you back. She can fire waves that travel the length of whatever the chain of pools is, and her lightning attacks only have the secondary explosion if they hit these patches. So if the idea is difficulty, but in an interesting way, the really easy answer here is to make the puddles take up more of the area you fight in.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Again, I know more movement affecting mechanics means less fun, but these are supposed to be a challenge. They are supposed to be different, and you are supposed to feel genuinely good about killing it. And I think that this tiny change to Danielle for an arch-tempered version would absolutely create that situation for us.
Number 2.
Johnny! Happy birthday, dude!
Are these rocks?
Not just any rocks.
Shura Ishvalda.
And here is where we get to the ones that really excite me. Because as I mentioned earlier, in my mind, the best arch-tempered monster from Base World was safi'jiiva, hands down. And an honest part of that is probably how little you actually fought him once you reached endgame. He had absolutely no reason to be farmed outside of his gear itself, which most people didn't need to farm for their ideal sets anyways. So really, the majority of us only hunted him a couple handfuls of times before the arch-tempered version came out. And regardless of the actually interesting changes made, I think the fact that Zeno himself wasn't quite stale yet really helped my impression of him, and Shura Ishvalda will easily have that effect too. But what I'm mostly here to talk about are potential ways to change them and where I see that happening. And I don't see a whole lot of things happening to the rock phase, but there is one big main glaring thing that I want to say about the fight as a whole. The Spirit Bomb attack needs to have the full arena of range, so you have to Superman dive it, or at the very least it needs to have a much shorter activation time so it at least has a chance of catching you, because at the immediate moment that thing is just incredibly easy to avoid.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
And aside from this, another easy way to mess with this would be the sand ground puddles that shoot up rocks when they get hit by air. If again, like I've said for other ground effect monsters, if you just upped the quantity or the size of the puddles, it would totally change the entire feel of the fight. Sort of like the equivalent of Arch-Tempered Valhazak back in the day, and how raising the damage of his effluvium actually made his fight a threat almost single-handedly, even though it is just in theory one tiny change in his ability set. Shura, I think, is a monster has the most potential to grow from the Arch-Tempered system in Iceborne. However, as an experience as a whole, I'm gonna have to give that title to
Number 1.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars.
Really?
safi'jiiva.
And I'd be lying if I didn't say that this was at least in part due to the Awakening system and all the crazy equipment that we've gotten from him already. The equivalent monster with a siege weapon system in the base game was called Taroth, and when she became Arch-Tempered, she brought with her a whole new suite of weapons that literally came with critical status and critical element on them, which at the time was an absolutely bonkers idea to us. So surely when Arch-Tempered safi'jiiva eventually rolls around, his equipment will get some sort of crazy bonkers upgrade too, right?
God, I hope so.
But really what I'm here to talk about is the fights themselves, so I guess I'll move on from that for now, no matter how exciting it is. The fight, honestly, could just be as simple as converting the changes that they did to Arch Tempered Zeno in the first place, tons and tons of fire patches on the ground, and add more explosions to most of his abilities, while giving him a few new moves as well. In theory, or at least in our wildest hopes and dreams, Arch Tempered Safi will also be black, like the initial teaser picture that Capcom showed for him before his release. Now, maybe this picture was just a poorly lit room, but maybe, just maybe, Arch Tempered safi'jiiva will have black scales, and black weapons, and black armor, and how absolutely awesome would that be? Honestly, yes, please, and assuming that the armor or weapons get a fancy upgrade, some nice fight changes are made, and maybe, just maybe, we do get that color change, safi'jiiva would undeniably become my #1 Arch Tempered monster. Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and these have been my predictions for the top 5 Arch Tempered monsters in Iceborne. Do you agree with the changes that I've suggested? What other changes could you see being made to tier 3 monsters to take them to the Arch Tempered level? Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame. Or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters, or important news about the Kingdom Animalia. Rage, Cotton, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear. So if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe, and the bell and will cheer. Some of you are patrons, even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.